What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Payne. Welcome to the first ever Snapback Podcast. I'm your host Payne for this week, and I'm here with my co-host Hayzink and AyeMarkyMark. Boys, go ahead and do your introductions.
Well,
go ahead, Hayzink.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, we know the order we're doing the next podcast in, so we'll do it that way, and I'll say hello. I'm Hayzink, Scottish. I'm actually the oldest person on this video, believe it or not. I am older than Payne. I know you can't tell by looking, you would think he's about 10 years older than me, but I am actually the oldest one in this room. I am Mr. Negative himself. Might be a topic. But yes, I'm here to keep it real and fight for all you free-to-play players. Mark, on you go.
Let's go.
I am, I guess, the youngest at this point, right? out of the three over here. Unless Payne is magically like 21 years old and we just...
Yeah, I wish.
I honestly just played this game and just met a lot of people. It's crazy to say I just started watching Hayzink from his how-to video, how to clear this frozen cavern, and now I'm here in a podcast with him. So life's a full circle, man. I'm pretty happy and excited to join this podcast with you guys, and ready to talk about how Dante is with his trials. I'm sure you guys tried it already. How do you guys feel?
Well, before we get into that, to the deep stuff with Street Fighter Duel, I just want to quickly say thank you to the two of you for taking the time. Just so everyone's aware, we are all in different parts of the world. Hayes, I think you're in what, Europe, right? Obviously.
I'm in Scotland.
In Scotland, okay,
Oh,
where
wow.
it's dreary, but you got some sun today, I was told. So congratulations on that big thing. Mark, I think you're in PST time. So are you in Cali? Where are you at?
Yes, I am in the Bay Area, around like San Francisco, pretty much.
Right.
It's
So
like
go
6:30 in
Niners.
the morning here, man. Yeah, of course, man.
So,
I know you're a Niners fan, that's why I got along with you.
yeah, absolutely. Plus, my wife is Filipino. So, just real quick, as everyone's aware, I'm from Canada. I'm in Ontario. So, we're all in different time zones. So, I just want to say I appreciate your time. Myself, I'm a dad. Hayes is also a dad. Mark will eventually one day become a dad, but right now, his daddy is Street Fighter Duel. So, again, just for everyone... Yeah, just so everyone's aware, we're doing this for you guys as the viewers and subscribers, and we are three different personalities coming into one. So the purpose of the podcast essentially is to talk about everything Street Fighter Duel, but we're going to go outside of that as a topic, and we're going to talk about life in general, music, sports, whatever comes to mind. But this is going to be a 3-part series, which you'll see part 1, 2, and 3 on different parts of our channels. So please subscribe to all 3 channels and keep a lookout. This will probably drop we haven't decided if it's every week, 2 weeks, or a month. We're still working on that part, but this is our first attempt at it. So I hope you guys enjoy the podcast. Anything you guys want to add to that?
No, not really.
Okay,
You pretty much covered it, yeah.
Well, I hope, actually, do you know what? One topic that I hope we do talk about is I hope we talk about anime. I'm a big anime fan, as my hats and t-shirts might suggest. I'm a fan of retro gaming. I think I might have maybe more in common with you in relation to retro gaming, because we are both old enough to remember going to arcades and, do you know what I mean, sitting there slamming the buttons and stuff. Whereas Mark, you ask him about nostalgic consoles, he might talk about the PlayStation 1, and it's like, mate, where was your Master System or your NES, you know? So,
Atari, bro, Atari. That's how far back we go.
Oh yeah, mate, you're right, definitely.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so no, absolutely, and I'm happy we have the difference in age with Mark, because I think when it comes down to, like, I don't know about you, Hayes, but I'm not caught up in all of my lingo with the new kid talk, like, you know, cap and all this extra jazz that everybody uses. So Mark, you're gonna have to jump in and be the voice of reason when Hayes and I don't understand, you know? Yeah, okay. All right, well, let's get into the first thing. That's right, exactly. You're gonna have to show me how to use my phone eventually. Let's jump right into it, guys. So we don't know if this was gonna be a topic, right? But now that it's out, Dante's out, the Street Fighter Duel times DMC Collab is here. Rest in peace, DMX. Is here now. So what's your first impressions? I know, Mark, you haven't had a chance to try Dante yet, but Hayes, I know you put a video out. I just put mine out as well. So what's your first impression, Hayes? I'm curious to see where you go with this.
It's too hard to say. The reason I say it's too hard to say is I feel like ultimately the game does a very poor job of showcasing these characters. I don't think these trials are actually a very good way for them to try and quote unquote sell the unit to people, because a lot of times you will find that that's not the kind of comps that you would naturally want to run the unit in. You don't have like the assist slot available. You know, it's like, I've said this, I mentioned this on my video actually. The one that stands out most to me is Trendy Cammy. If you were to have based your point of view on Trendy Cammy solely based on the trial, she would have been garbage. No one would have touched her. Trendy Cammy is vastly better than people gave her credit for based on her trial.
Absolutely.
So the thing I would say is, it's very hard for me to pass definitive judgment on him right now, but what I will say is the issue around his C1 skill, I don't like that. I mean, as someone who probably like yourself in a lot of way, Payne, especially on your main account, you play auto most times. I've got a life. I've not got time to sit there manually in every stage. The fact that his C1 just completely kills the combo, and then basically to kind of get the combo going again, you're more or less breaking his C1 by using up that double trigger. In a way, it seems like a bit of a wasted slot to me, if you know what I mean. They could have had something in there that was a wee bit better. I feel like as a unit, I can't actually tell right now if he does interrupt or not. I can't actually see where he interrupts, and trying him, I can't visibly make it happen either. And also the other issue that's probably the most huge issue is trying him in trials. His skills will literally do things that you cannot make him do unless you have him to triple S, because he does things like freezing the character. You cannot do that without vehicles. So it's not really a great representation of how he's going to be, because I know you touched on, will he be viable at A+ based on like certain leaks or whatever. Trying him, you cannot pass that judgment on him, because you might try him and think, oh great, he will be viable at A+, but you don't know that, because he's not going to do literally what he is doing on that trial when you've got him, unless you get him maxed out and you get him with his cars, which I feel is fundamentally different to other characters, because people like Monster Hunter Ken, etc., they still did the same thing. They may have used more power or given you like more buffs or whatever, but their actual skills didn't change, you know what I mean? So I don't think that trial's actually going to do a lot of use for people. They should have literally just done the 3-day thing. I think that should be a thing for every character. It is an AFK arena. Every character, 3-day trial, bang, there you go. Use them in your comps. Do you like this unit? Yes. Well, go and summon then.
So Mark, do you have anything? Because I know you haven't used Dante yet, right? You just woke up.
I actually did a little bit.
Oh, did you? Okay.
I mean, I did. Yeah, so I tried a little bit. I was talking to Hayes at like 2 a.m. here. Like I don't know. I just randomly woke up because I know it was like there was like a maintenance. I honestly thought that he was gonna release, because you know how the what's his name was saying like, oh, this might be like an Akuma where it releases like 1 day early. So I just wanted to see how it looked like, right? But we only can play him through trial. And honestly, I don't know if it's the team. Like I was like half awake, honestly. I was just trying it out. But his speed was not really making a difference, because I felt like I was going second. So by the time I could even see his C1 or C2 or his buff skill or him going Devil Trigger, he's already like halfway dead. Yeah. So it's kind of like what Hayzink was saying. It's like it's kind of like a poor way to see trial, because honestly, personally, that's one of the reasons why I didn't even build Trendy Cammy. I didn't really realize how good of a unit she was, because I just tested her out in trials, and I was like, man, she sucks. Like honestly, and I didn't even invest in her. So, I mean, hopefully, if I can get I guess like a trial for like in a different comp, like a comp that you would actually use, right? Putting Bison there, putting Monster Hunter Ken there, putting Street Poison. That's probably a comp that I would want to see, as well as with some links, just to see if he is going to be good, right? But the only thing interesting that I found is what Hayzink was saying, like you can freeze the opponent. I did notice that on his C1 skill. But you need like the cars, I believe, to have like a nice or like a higher percentage for that to even happen. I never even
Well, in
saw the
general,
interrupt.
you need it in general. So there is no interrupt.
Yeah.
They've removed that
Yeah.
aspect of him.
Wow, well, that
I think-
kind of sucks.
Right. So just not to cut you off, Mark. There. So
No,
the
you're good.
reveal kit that I did yesterday was provided by a user who did the Vega reveal kit. And it was actually very, very much the same. Where I said and I said this is subject to change based on the devs, obviously. And I always say this because I'm always cautious about what I say about these things. Here's how Dante differs one version to another, right? They took away the interrupt. They gave him a freeze. Now the problem with freeze, and I mentioned this in my video that I just dropped, is that freeze is only 3 seconds. So 3 things about freeze.
Yeah.
Freeze can be valuable if it's over 6 seconds long because a combo can expire. So in that case, freeze will be like an interrupt, but it's not because it's only 3 seconds and a combo still exists after 3 seconds. Number 2, freeze is an issue if you use a cleave or AoE team because freeze can be thawed out with damage. So if you do 10% of the max HP of damage with an AoE, they thaw from that freeze. So it makes it actually a pretty useless CC versus the interrupt. So I tested the interrupt, it's not there. So they removed that. What they've done more with him, going back to your speed question, is he is a ramp-up character like Makoto, where you have to build up his speed over time and he becomes the fastest character, but his base speed is only 114, making him one of the slowest units in the game to start with. So where you have to really use him properly is his dodge mechanics. Everything is dodge based on him. So when he dodges, he increases speed, he does a counter attack, he does a trigger counter attack, and it's every 8 seconds if you get it to level 3. So having like an assist, like I mentioned, Dudley on him, because Dudley with his FS5 gives additional dodge for 3 seconds, would benefit Dante to become faster, but again, it's not from the beginning of the battle. So he's nowhere near Bizang. Bizang, unfortunately, continues to become the only unique interrupt unit in the game, which I think is unfortunate because as much as I say not to spend money on this game, it's not even about that at this point. It would have been nice to have, and Hayes, going back to your point about him being valuable at A or A+, an interrupt unit that we could use early on in the game that can just be used for interrupting only outside of Bizang. And I think this is where they dropped the ball. I think they dropped the ball hard on this. And there's 2 things, right? Number 1, Hayes, myself, and Mark, you don't really do version compares, but he lost his legendary status. He became master. And then just to get him to SSS, you're going to have to summon quite a bit to even get the car is active. So a lot of people are going to skip that now. And most people are going to use the DMC collaboration event to farm tickets and go for Akuma still, or save for the next big unit, right? So I think they really dropped the ball on Dante. I really do. I think they had a really good thing going with his kit from other versions with the interrupts and everything, but I think with the version we have, it's absolutely a skip in my opinion. And that's not based on gameplay myself on a maxed out unit. That's just based on the kit that I see, and I'm now becoming very accustomed to kits with how this gameplay works. And not to mention, his multipliers aren't that big. Like, they're like 450% to 555. If you look at other AoE multipliers, they're way larger. Like Guile's, Fashion Blanca's, they're way bigger multipliers for AoE. So it's unfortunate, but I feel like they really dropped the ball in a good way to some extent, because people will save money now, and only the real simp and fanboys will get them, right? But in a bad way, because we could have had a really good character on our hands at an early stage of A+, S rank, which we could have used as another interrupt unit, rather than seeing Bizang, spin around like a ballerina 150 times a day.
Well, sorry to interrupt you here, Payne. I obviously don't know when we're actually going to release this video, so by the time we release this video, Dante should probably be out in the wild. People will have summoned him and they will be using him. So there might be some secret sauce that's uncovered, right? And we're going to look absolutely stupid right now. But what I want to say is, I did mention this on the video I put out this morning as well, that when you look at his actual numbers, I don't think his numbers seem high enough to justify displacing specific characters from your team. It's like, I look just now and I'm like, why would I, if I was someone who was running Guile, who I have a really strong chance of having Guile at a high level, with a lot of investment, he's not going to out damage him. So why would I have him on my team if he's not bringing something unique to the team like interrupt or whatever? But then even in that video I said the same thing, that okay, you might get sick of using like be Zangief, okay, like that's a reason, but ultimately if you've got low level Dante, so A+, even if he did interrupt, why would you realistically take him take Beast Zangief out of your team, who you've maybe got at Triple S, to just replace him with a different character.
No, I don't. Yeah.
Right.
You know,
I just sorry to interrupt. I don't think you would. I think you would place him as a second team because, you know, obviously eventually you get 2, 3, 4 teams in PvE and you lack an interrupt. So that would be the only reason why.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a fair point. I mean, ultimately, I think that I don't know if this is where you wanted to actually go with this right now, but I ultimately think the biggest mistake that's happening in this game right now is the legendary thing that we've already kind of you have touched on it there, so I feel like it's fair to talk about it.
No, for sure.
I feel like these characters should have remained legendary. Now, if you're going to take a character like maybe, for example, Trendy Cammy, who I would argue there's no argument, they improved her. She's better as a summonable unit in our game than she was in other versions as a legend, okay? However, if you look at characters like, say, Dante, I keep saying Dante, by the way, I don't know why I do. I think it's because I keep hearing people saying Dante's Inferno rather than Dante's Inferno.
Dante,
yeah, but the thing is, I don't necessarily think you can have a massive argument that says they have made Dante busted, so that is why he is summonable. You could argue they've made him worse, which I believe you've done in this discussion. I think you've said that removing the interrupt, from my point of view, it sounds like you're saying your belief is they have actually downgraded him. So they have no reason to have changed him from being a legend. Now, I know, we've had discussions with our viewers, with each other. I've got a lot of issues around the monetization in this game, and I feel like even if they made this unit a legend and did not give discounts, so he was $100 flat, you couldn't do this, reducing the price via discount, people would have spent $100 to get him. They would have. People who maybe people who don't regularly spend would have said, you know what, I'm going to drop $100 on this guy. I want to get him. But instead, realistically, despite what your commenters might say, Payne, and despite what I've had in the past, when I spoke about you actually got lucky with Vega, which you did. I know it sounds horrific, but you got lucky.
No, I did.
That whole 2% thing where people think, oh, but if you do like 500 rolls, you should have this. That's not how odds work, guys. You could do 500 rolls and not get one copy, right? You would have to spend so much money that it is unrealistic for most people to play this game.
Yeah.
And enjoy
So,
I think,
Hayzink,
and I want to point that out to Mark. Go ahead, Mark.
Sorry. I was live streaming last night. I was just playing my free-to-play account, right? Shout out to this guy. His name is BGM. But he was talking in the chat saying he spent $1,500 spending for Akuma to get to SSS. Not even SSS plus 5, bro. SSS.
Mate, do you know?
And I was like, are you serious?
In some ways,
$1,500.
In some ways, that's better than other people. Mate, I've heard of other people going worse than that. Like, that is, I know that's a lot of money and it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous, but that isn't even the worst.
But for it to not be maxed,
mate, that's
like, not even plus 5, bro.
Mate,
just SSS.
Pancake managed to max Akuma in $600, which is one of the cheapest I've heard of, right?
Yeah.
But I've heard of people going to the kind of numbers that Payne was talking about and not getting SSS plus 5. It's kind of madness, to be honest.
And I want to point out, like, to the probability thing. Mark, how many times did you pull to get one Akuma copy?
Oh my god, my first Akuma copy, bro, right? On my main account, I spent, I think, 120 tickets. They were all free. I didn't even buy any of those tickets.
No, that's fine.
But 120 tickets. The 120 ticket, I finally pulled Akuma.
Right. So this
copy.
Is an example, and
Ridiculous.
that's an example of. This is an example of, let's say, a bad pull. Okay, now I've on the other side of the fence. I've seen people pull Akuma from the first pull. So when I've seen people pull Akuma after 250. So this is my point. And as Hayes is pointing out, probability in this game, you're not guaranteed at 2% to get something. It's every single pull you do. It's a 2% chance to summon on a unit, but it doesn't mean you're guaranteed it after a certain point. Hence why a pity system is so important. And I want to take this conversation over to the state of the game now, because I think this is where I made a video about content versus units. I think I praise the content because, quite honestly, when there's an event or there's shadow patches, content is plenty in this game. The problem is a lot of people put a lot of value in units, and rightfully so, right? There's an IP for a reason. I mean, if the IP didn't matter, we'd all play stick figures and be happy with it. But at the end of the day, we care about the people that we grew up fighting with in arcades or playing with, during our joysticks, whatever the case may be. But what do you guys think is the state of the game currently? Because right now I'm seeing a loud minority of people who are very negative. And let's be honest. I think as content creators, we can all admit this. I'd say 90% of the player base don't watch YouTube. Are you guys in agreement with that?
Yeah,
right. So
totally.
Yeah. So, and I think the problem is that the 10% that do watch are very openly active about their opinions, and rightfully so. I think their opinions absolutely matter, that 10%. But you guys have to realize the 90% of people that don't watch YouTube are spending the money, are the ones that don't know how characters work and they just care about the skin of the figure. They're the ones usually funding the devs and the team. For those the 10% that are watching who are extremely negative about the game, we hear you and we are in agreement for most of what you're saying. But I believe the state of the game currently is in flux because they're releasing characters way too fast, and I think units they're doing completely wrong. From a unit perspective, I think they're dropping things too quickly to make too much money, and they're doing it completely ass backwards. But from a content perspective, I think they're dropping enough content to keep people engaged. So I'm very much like, do I love this game? Do I hate this game sometimes? And I'm very, very much I'm broken by this. So I don't know how you guys feel about the state of the game right now.
Well, I'm going to hijack this just now. Right, what you guys don't know is Payne wrote up a list of kind of topics that we would cover, and one of the topics was, is Hayzink really negative? And I think this is a good time for me to bridge that gap. Yep. Right now, I get accused. I'd say even though Payne does cover a lot of the stuff that I cover, I seem to get more front-facing abuse about being negative, right? And I don't actually think that's what it is. Personally, I feel like I like this game, I love the IP, but I feel like we have lurched from one bad decision to another bad decision to another bad decision. Now, if I didn't speak about that, then sure, I wouldn't come across as negative, but I cover everything. I cover the good and I cover the bad. If you have 5 bad things happening in a row, it's hard to not come off as negative, but that's not what it is. Now, I completely agree with what you said. It is the vocal minority who are extremely negative about the game. There is an even smaller minority who are overly positive about the game. You've seen it. I know you've seen it, right? But there is some people who, if you actually present facts, like, I'm not going to name drop anyone, but I had one commenter who actually said that I was telling lies because I said, look, Flame Chung-Li is going to be changed, she's going to be a legend. And it's like, all you do is put out negative videos. Why are you telling people lies? And the comment was made on the video I made talking about Payne and how Payne got lucky, how Payne was fortunate to spend 500 tickets and get the copies of Vega that he got. Only through mathematically speaking was he lucky, but he wasn't really. That was a ridiculous amount to have to actually spend to get a unit. So anything I say, I try to temper it with positivity, but I feel like it's quite difficult when, I mean? I don't want to just make it up. But the thing about the game is I feel like they have the building blocks to make a better game. Unfortunately, I don't like saying this. This game does rip off AFK Arena. It's a fact. You can't hide from it. You can't.
Yeah, it does, and that's fine.
They've taken so many points from AFK, but left behind the player-friendly bits, and it's like, why would you do that? Why would you take these systems that this game proved to the world worked, but they only worked because of those player-friendly systems? You chose to leave them on the table. If you had brought them all across, it would work better as a game. And I think at this point, that's all they need to do. They need to add guaranteed pity. They need to make more ways for players to get units. They need to make things more accessible, like trials, like where you can actually borrow the unit for a few days. Do that and the community will become more engaged, and there'll be less of this talk about predatory this, predatory that. So I don't think I'm negative. I think I'm actually quite positive, believe it or not. I just think that the game's not in the best state right now. I really don't.
Well, let's hear from the guy who woke up at 6 a.m. having a coffee. Mark, I'm curious to see what you feel about this. Because this is your first, and a lot of people don't know this, this is your first actual idle game. Right?
It's mine as well.
Oh, is it? Wow, okay. I play thousands, and I'm talking about the gachas, and idle is a big part of my gaming repertoire. So Mark, So this is Hayes. You have a comparison to AFK Arena. Now, I will say one thing real quick, Mark, before you jump in. AFK Arena was not free-to-play friendly from the get-go because I actually played it when it first released. It took some time to get to that point as well. Sure. And Street Fighter is doing, I think, the same thing AFK did in the past, which is monetizing as much as possible, losing its player base, and then revamping the game to be more free-to-play friendly and return that with collabs. I think they're following a very similar structure, but I'm curious to see, Mark, as a whale or as a former whale, now as a free-to-play player, how do you feel about the game from both fronts?
So, I told you specifically in the very beginning, like I was just going head first without even knowing what the hell is going on. All these pop-ups in my screen, hey, you just cleared a stage, you want to spend $1, $3 or $5, and then it went up to $25, $50, $99. In your mind, you're like, hell yeah, I want to get this. I just want to keep progressing in the game. You don't really realize, like, oh man, I already spent this much, right? That was me in the very beginning of the game. I wasn't really looking at, oh my god, I'm spending so much in this game. I wasn't thinking like, oh my god, this game is so pay to win heavy. Like, that wasn't even coming across my mind until I joined the Discord server, knowing that these people are complaining like, oh my god, like every 10 minutes it's like not forcing you, but it's like implying to motivate you to spend something in this game, right? Yeah. So I guess like the first month, of course, like, I already spent like 4 figures, not 5, but it's pretty much up there. In a way, I don't really regret it, like I always say, because you just spend what you want to spend. It's not saying like, oh, I'm struggling in life and I'm here spending money. Like, that's how people see it. That's why for some reason, remember, like in the very beginning of the stages of this game, the free-to-play players were like not abusing, but they were like making fun of the whales, like, haha, you just spent this much, I didn't have to. Like, I didn't understand that. I wasn't really fond of that type of idea, but I feel like because of how they brought this game when it released and the first collab character, Gormagala Ken was honestly like a nice investment in a way, because he's actually a unit we are still using today. Correct me if I'm wrong, like, absolutely. He's a very viable unit, arena or chapter mode, and I feel like the game just gave us such high standards to even, like, now all these collab characters, we're gonna think they're broken. And that was honestly like my intention now, like knowing that, oh my god, it's Dante, one of our favorite characters, he's gonna be broken, I gotta go summon for him. But honestly, playing Trials and seeing this, I was actually just gonna make a video too before hopping onto this call, but I mean, that's too early anyway. I don't even know if I'm gonna spend for Dante anymore. I don't know if he's gonna stay in the special summoning pool. I mean, I guess, but I mean, where I messed up with Akuma, like, I knew I wasn't gonna build him, but I kept wasting the tickets that I kept receiving, just because in my mindset I'm like, man, let me just fucking get one copy. You know, like it took me so many so many tickets just to get that one copy. Now I wasted so many tickets where I wasn't even going to build them anymore, that I could have just saved for the next character. So if I might skip Dante, I will probably just save up my tickets at this point, so I don't have to spend too much for the next character. Because honestly, like, as a pay-to-win player, and I'm sure from our rosters, me, yours, and Hayzink's, we already have a pretty viable roster of SSS or SSS plus 5 characters that we could still use pushing content every single time there's new content that comes out. Now, as a free-to-play player, I've been making a series, well, not really a series, but this is 11 days now of me creating the account. With the best of my knowledge, I was pretty fortunate. I created a new character in server 511. Like, literally, like the moment that the server came out, I just caught it, so I was like, screw it. It was a Sunday. Let me just see how far I could push. First day I got to push 640, and on the Supreme Tower past level 100. So I was interested. I was like, wow, I was number 1 on the Steps of Honor. So you know how Steps of Honor is just a month. So I was like, you know what? Let me just continue to push content and see how far I could take this account. Because I got pretty fortunate. I got B-Zang early. I got C Viper early. I ended up getting Chun-Li and Guile. Those are 4 viable units that you just mainly need as a free-to-play and build, and you don't have to spend money to get them to SSS. You just got to keep summoning for them, especially for win characters. You could also get Street Poison. She is one of the main units that you would need as well the farther you progress. But I'm glad that when the game released her with Trendy Cammy, at least street poison is summonable, you know. This is day 11 now. I'm like in chapter 20, almost 2040, 10 days in. And that's crazy to say, because when the game first started, like 10 days into the game, I was still in like chapter 10, chapter 11. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just like, let me just buy this, let me buy that. I want to build this character. I want to get Chun-Li to SSS because she was like the main character that kept popping up. Hey, get a copy for like $3 or something like that, you know? So now knowing as a free-to-play, the mechanics in this game, I didn't even have to spend that much. So in my mind, I'm like, wow, I could push content so fast with the characters that were already out, and I would have saved so much money knowing if I knew what I knew now, right? So the thing that kind of sucks, playing the game when it first released, there's no videos to tell you how to play this game correctly. You had to experience it yourself to know what's going on, or what's the right thing to do, or what's the wrong way to do. That's why, you know, Hayzink makes these how-to videos. You make these videos. I make these videos to just tell the community, like, hey, we did this. You shouldn't shun us for making the mistake. We learned from it. Now we're telling you not to do it. But don't give a shit about it, because we're just telling you, like, hey, this is wrong. And it doesn't justify that you're negative. But that's the thing. People don't realize that. You know, they're getting mad at you or trying to like say, oh, you didn't know that. Like, no one's gonna know what's going on until it actually happens, right? Like, for me,
Sorry, I was gonna say, Mark. So just sorry to cut you off. Actually, real quick, Hayes, we're at 31 minutes. How you doing for time?
I'll
edit this part out.
A couple of minutes, mate.
Oh yeah.
Okay, a couple more minutes ago. Let's just do this as the last topic, and then we'll continue part 2 tomorrow. So just to get back to your point, Mark, about negativity from, let's say, from our viewers or viewers of the game, they don't even have to be subs, right? I will say this, like, Hayes, you mentioned that you get a lot of negativity. Hell, I've got 4 Reddit posts created just under bashing me. So, like, let's be real. At the end of the day, it sucks as a content creator in this game to blast the game when it has to be blasted, and also be positive, because you're never going to make everybody happy, right? Because there's always going to be the diehard negatives, and there's always going to be the diehard positives. And I think as content creators, personally for me, like, I don't try to cater to my viewers' opinions. I cater to my own opinions, and I let the viewers decide how they want to react to that. And hence, I will react to them. And I always say this, you get the same energy you give, right? So if it's negative, and I feel like you're being negative towards me rather than being like constructive with your criticism, you're going to get negativity back. But with that being said, I think Hayes made a good point that being real in this game has been one of the hardest things to do, because as a content creator, there is no benefit for us to make this game look bad. As a matter of fact, it drives people away, because we have influence over what people think, right? And for our channels, like, for example, I know Hayes, for example, in your Mark, you're literally trying to make this as a living and a business for yourselves. So it makes no sense for you guys to be like, hey, this part sucks, and then have your viewers hate you for it, because this is, I think, why all 3 of us got together. I think we're all like-minded individuals who see the bullshit and we want to call it out. And we're not doing it, guys, to hate on your thoughts and positivity. We're doing it because we have our own opinions and our thoughts. And I think as avid gamers and content creators, we have to be your news anchors. And I said this before, we're like the gaming news anchors. Like, you have to get your information somewhere, and it's from us. And the last thing you want to do is go to a news channel and hear all false negative news or clickbaits.
That's why nobody watches. That's why nobody likes Fox News.
Right, exactly. That's a perfect example, right? And that's why people go to BBC and stuff, right? So there's going to be a lot of clickbaiters out there. There's going to be a lot of people who are sponsored content creators who don't know what the hell they're talking about, and they're going to create videos because they're getting paid. And you can't hate on that, but you as a viewer have to see that, and you have to understand who's real and who's not. And I feel like the real, and I'm not using any names, obviously, I never like to call out anybody, are the ones that get shunned on the most, even though we're letting you guys know what's up, right? So it's kind of a confusing aspect for me, where some viewers like don't want to hear negativity because they come on YouTube to have a positive experience. But is that how you work in real life? You want yes men? Like, I don't personally want that. I want someone to tell me straight up how it is. So I don't think, Hayes, you're negative. In your terms, Mark, like, I think you're right. People need to have guidance to some extent from content creators with positive and negative mixed bag of reviews. And I think it's important for us to be able to be the voice of reason for a lot of players, even though the small minority may not agree with it.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, and I feel like honestly, like when I make these videos, I honestly don't think too much of like how am I gonna react. I honestly just make these videos like in my terms. Like if I want to make the video showing that I'm upset with the game, I'm upset, or if I'm happy with the game, I'm not faking my emotions. I never felt like I had to do that recording any of these videos. I just record my videos of like how you would see it yourself, right? Like playing the game. Like, okay, well, I saw Dante. Damn, pay to win. Fuck, is he good? Nope. Damn. Okay, skip. All right, well, that's 50, 60, 70% of your viewers. They'll feel that same way. And then they'll probably add on to either the hatred or the disappointment. But I just feel like when we make these videos, they don't realize we make these videos to just portray not just our emotions to the game, but just to not also shun the game. But we're just making these videos to just inform the people, like, hey, this is what's going on. Like you said, it's a news anchor. But they just think like we just upload, or Hayzink especially uploads videos to just talk crap about the game and not play the game. And they're gonna ask him, why are you still playing the game? I'm sure Hayzink loves the game. It's just like you guys are correct. Like lately, they've just been not dropping the ball, but creating bad decisions. And if what you say, Payne, it's gonna be like AFK Arena, where it was pay to win heavy, wipe out the player base, and make it free to play friendly, then that's pretty unfortunate. But personally, I might have to stick to the right, or stick with the wave, or stick whatever with the game. I mean, I haven't really spent. I've been enjoying the game as a free to play player, not pay to win. Free to play. I've been playing my free to play account because I really just want to see how far I could get with the Steps of Honor. But even after that 30-day mark, I'll still be playing it. I just want to see in the game's perspective in two different sides, you know, as a pay to win and a free to play. I find that very intriguing, and I feel like that can be in my advantage for my viewers, just to see what can you do as a free to play, what you can't do. Because for me, I didn't even know it was possible to push chapter 20 in like